So, guys, we are back. It is, I think, now 4 years later. 4 years later, Jake was one of the first podcast guests. We've had a couple of episodes right now. Me and Jake we were just in the peaks and throes of a little back and forth right now on some of the work I'm doing, some of the work Jake's doing. But let Jake give you probably the best run through of what AI is doing for people, what is working, what is not working. He's deep in the grains of it every day. So, Jake, give a quick introduction. Who are you? What do you do? And what are you doing today for those that already know a little bit about you? I need your
Yeah,
help.
man. Yeah, excited for the conversation, my man. So, yeah, for those of you who do not follow my content, you should, obviously. You can check out, I post daily on LinkedIn about this stuff, but I run Skaled Consulting. We're a 45 plus person revenue performance consulting firm. And, a lot of the work that we are doing here is really focused helping organizations to, one, probably half of our business is, your traditional revenue operations enablement work, right? Optimizing processes and systems. And then the fastest growing part of our business is our Gen AI deployment work. We've been doing this since we were doing workshops with the New York Knicks on ChatGPT in 2023. So since then, we've built hundreds of go-to-market agents, and I think we've really cracked the code on how do you take your current state of your AI deployment and tools, et cetera, identify the key bottlenecks that are in your revenue org, and how do you actually build a real grown-up AI roadmap and a process to get from point A where you're at now to a truly AI enabled revenue machine. And that's what we're working on now.
What do you think right now is the number one problem you're coming up against in the majority of your conversations?
Around the AI piece in particular, there's a lot of noise. I think also in the rev tech space in general, all these tools are starting to do the exact same thing. And
Yeah.
so I think right now it's a really confusing time for a lot of people in senior leadership.
Hmm.
And it because of that, and also then on the front lines, I think a lot of people are lost. I think a lot of people are like, I know we need to do stuff. We're doing a little bit here and a little bit here, but they don't really have the ability, you could say, to really sit down, really understand the art of possible to where they can actually build a proactive AI roadmap versus like, oh, we should build this or we should do that or we should implement this tool, as opposed to like, hey, what are the bottlenecks in our revenue org? Like what are people doing and or that
Hmm.
could be doing that we could actually have a more focused strategy. So I think it's really a lack of a focused strategy because of a lot of the noise and time is probably it.
What do you say to the companies that have they might not even know, but the companies that have taken on this approach that more is better. So I literally just finished up a consulting gig before like going into RevIntel full time, where it was a collections firm and they wanted to blast the shit out of emails. Like, yo, we did that for a whole year at Mega and it didn't work. And then
Yeah.
you guys are now trying to do it and they just keep doing more. And they're getting the wrong leads. They're getting people from Singapore, like just it's completely wrong. So this volume-based outbound model is dead. What do you say to the companies that have invested tons of money into making that work now, and it's 6 months, a year into it, and you're telling them you got to pull it out?
Look, I think Outbound can still be very much alive, but we just have to reimagine the way that we think about it. Let's go back and I'll do a little history lesson. Let's go back to like 2014. Okay, so
Mm.
literally just 12 years ago. It's not that long ago, right? What happened? Every message you sent out was customized. Every phone call you made was customized. You were really invested in getting a meeting with that individual. Then came the rise of these sales engagement platforms. And actually, if you look at the data, I've been working on this keynote that I'm doing for a client starting next week. And the data is like, you look at quota attainment, like 2015, 2014, 15, 16, it was like pushing almost 60%. And then everyone got the tools. Let's go 2017, 18, 19, right? Everybody got those tools. Then, 2021, everyone made a shit ton of money, right? The money was flowing late 2020 through early 2022. Things were easy. We could send out bulk emails because people were just spending stuff. And then it has this kind of bulk approach, this approach that says the goal is volume, not the goal is to get a meeting with Shane. Guys, the goal of Outbound is to get a meeting with a person. not to do volumes of activity. So I actually think outbound, we're seeing calls crush it right now. Like a lot of our clients, like calls are working with in combination with email and LinkedIn cadences, right? They're not, they're not purely call sequences because it's customized. Why is a call working? It's customized. And so what we should be thinking about is what AI is doing is automating the signals. It's pulling in its insights into like, hey, look, because Shane works in this type of business, has this type of role. These are probably the trends that are happening. So when you send the email, we need to include these trends that are hyper specific to the persona as a part of it. And so I think outbound is still very much alive, but the bar to get through requires the human in the loop. We have to stop trying to automate 100%. We need to automate all the signals. We need to automate all the things that get you to that point. And then the human takes over. It's like an F1 car. It's like a plane. They're all the same. They're these supercomputers. They're designed to do a million things. They've got a bunch of dashboards. There's a human driving it. So why do you think you can do outbound without a human driving it? If you can't run an F1 car, you can't. So the key is you have to enable them with a supercomputer and put expert people in the scenario to win. And that is how, if you're going to be successful in outbound, if you're going to be successful in B2B sales, that is the mindset you need to have. I'm building race cars, cockpits for my people, but they need to drive it. I'm not trying to say cruise control, self-driving mode, right? It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Shane, I lost your audio.
Oh, sorry, Bella was in the room. So, two things that I think are really interesting to share along with that is what you've been building at Journey AI, number one, and the innovative seller it's kind of cemented your position. I think there was a big spike in even like your presence across all your socials when the book came out. It went like a big spike. What do you want to say about Journey AI for companies that should be looking at something like that? And then obviously the innovative seller, a dovetail into that piece too.
Yeah, I'll start with innovative seller. I mean, the book came out now. When did I finish? When did it come out?
3 or 4 years ago, right?
No, it would have been 2024, so it would have been 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I very specifically remember working with my publisher. And as I got toward the end, I was like, man, I have to add in a full piece about AI here. Like, it was just so crystal clear to me of like where the ball was. So one of the key principles in the book is called the 4 C's. And the 4 C's are what it takes to be a successful seller. And I think, I'm not saying I predicted it. I think it was very clear of what was happening. But the first C is commitment to AI and technology proficiency. If you are not committed to learning this stuff, I was telling Shane before, guys, I have Claude Code on my computer. It's literally running right now. I'm looking at it right now. Last week, between the last like 10 days, I deployed over 600,000 lines of code. I'm a CEO of a 45-person company. I got payroll. I got sales calls. I got partners to deal with. And I'm committed all in because this is the future. If you do not know how to use these systems to their maximum potential, you will be left behind. It just is what it is, right? Number 2 is a current go-to-market motion. That's what we just talked about. You cannot, the go-to-market motion of just like putting out a bunch of, emails as the activity, it's never going to win. So you have to have a current strategy that meets buyers like where they're at, or they're not going to pay attention. The third C is customized sales journey. We treat every deal linear. This happened. That's not how sales works. Certain people now with AI, they're coming in at step 4. Like, look, Shane, I've already compared you to these 3 people. I already have an idea of pricing. Can we just get your customer success people on the phone? Like, I need to know what's going to happen when we go live. Like, guys, we are entering this world where not everybody is entering the sales process at the same point. And so we at B2B sales in B2B sales, we have to evolve. We have to treat each customer journey slightly different and meet the customer where they're at, because we're actually slowing things down, making buying more clunky. And in today's day and age where people just want to click to buy, I think McKinsey came out with a stat. It was like, by this year, people like 30-something% of people are ready to self-service at like 40 to 50K products.
Yeah.
Right? And look, not everybody wants that by any stretch of the imagination. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I need options to buy. I need different paths to buy. And then the last, but certainly not the least, is consistent performance optimization. So if you are not constantly looking at what's working, what's not working, and making adjustments in real time, again, you're too slow. Sales is slow. We're going to do some new sequences, and they do it every year. We're going to update our sales playbook every 3 years. Guys, you're using one of these call recording tools out every single one of your reps. Guys, you're pumping hundreds or millions of data points through a system. You should be fixing part of your sales process, every few months. Like, it's very clear. The data says this thing is a gap. Here's what the winners are saying. That's my new playbook. Everybody say this. Like, guys, this stuff is all doable today. And so it's really those 4 C's that are the pillar that if you are trying to be an innovative seller, an innovative leader, it's required. It is everything I just said is required to be elite in 2026 and beyond. So I'll pause there and then we'll talk about the journey piece, but we can go a little bit deeper on that if we want to.
Well, no, look, I think that's a really important piece. Number one is, yes, these operators are crucial and critical. And like, again, for me, where I am building something based on a problem, and it was it's very strange. Like, this is how I've never built a product or launched a product in my life, right? But what I've learned in the past year has been so incredible, where we built a product that we wanted 100K product a year, right? 100K a year product. We wanted big money. We thought that this was the route, and 1-to-1, and it's an uphill journey, right? And we literally just finished integrating yesterday. Last week we finished off a call. Our license $500, right? And it's nothing to hide, but $500 for an agency. This agency has 117 clients. That ends up taking our AI company, the first client we have, to just shy of 1 million in recurring revenue, less than 53 days of our product being live. This just shows how dope this shit is, and the real deal, right? But, Jake, there are a bunch of fucking noise yappity yappers out there, and it's hard to cut through that noise, bro. I'm a yappity yapper, but I can back it up.
Yeah.
Right? I got receipts. So what do you say to people who are in these conversations and you can't cut through this bullshit, bro? I can't cut through it sometimes because they can speak, they can deliver great content, but they cannot execute. So how do we filter through that as a significant buyer for significant amounts of revenue and budget? How do you control the urge to spend on the wrong things?
It is a very noisy time, so I get it, right? And I think everybody has good intentions, right? I think a lot of these organizations are trying to find ways to help people and to, solve real challenges. Some things are just noise. I got a pitch from this guy, like, we're going to build this. It'll pull 3 coaching points out of every call using AI and da-da-da. I'm like, bro, I can build that in Claude Code in like 25 minutes maybe. And then the other thing, the feedback I gave him, I can't help myself. I got to shut up sometimes, where if you hit me up with a pitch and say, what do you think? I'm going to tell you what I think. Yeah. And I told him, I said, look, let me tell you the biggest issue that I have is, one, like with your solution, if you're giving a rep 2 to 3 coaching points after every call, and I've got 8 calls a week, you're going to give me 24 pieces of coaching. And let's say maybe you find some themes, so you're giving me 16. I'm not going to do anything with that.
Yeah.
Shane, I've talked about that. The problem, a lot of these AI solutions is all surfacing negative stuff, right? That's not what it should be doing.
Hands up. We were guilty of it.
Well, I think because the data is so good, it's so good at saying, look, no salesperson, myself included, I've never ran a perfect call in my life. I've never probably ran a perfect deal. I've ran I'm guessing I've ran at least 10,000 deals in my life. If I just do like very quick math, 20-year career, I think that's fair. I probably in every single one of those deals missed some stupid part of MedPick or whatever the solution is. So, I think it's the way that we're deploying AI, and that's the issue. So going back to really your question, very roundabout way, you start with the bottleneck. Okay, there's a great book. It's an oldie but goodie. It's called The Goal. Okay, it's like
20, Eli Goldratt, right?
Yeah, my man. It's a fictional book about logistics. It's much sexier than it sounds, I promise. Okay, but it's a very simple concept. There is one bottleneck, one singular bottleneck. and if every rev org, that is how you have to think about AI. Don't worry about the noise. Fuck it, put it down. Guys, what is the bottleneck? I think it's Herbie. I think Herbie or Harvey is the kid's name.
Yeah, it's Herbie.
that is all of your AI decisions should be based on bottleneck, and then next in your revenue organization. That is where you should be focused. It should not be focused on this sexy tool, this thing, solving this stupid. If we just had this data source from Clay, then guys, that's not the problem. There's a lot of other things that if you automated, like, again, like basic workflows we're building, like ripping the call recording, automatically putting it in the customized way that business runs into Salesforce. Boom, rep's not entering information to Salesforce ever. Done. Automatically connected to Gmail. The draft's already in, the follow-up email's already in their inbox. That's another 3 to 4 minutes, at least, probably 5 or 10, or sometimes you don't even send it out. Then automatically, based on what that manager wants to see, hey, I just want to look at one thing for every call. Like, are they always setting a next step? Great. Automate the message in Slack. Did it happen? So these things are all doable now. We've built a version of that now for tens of companies. And so you're focusing on the bottlenecks in driving more, whatever your job is. Marketing, it's content or leads. Sales, it's deals. CS, it's retaining and growing customers. And again, that use case is exactly the same for CS. I talk to a customer. We talk about XYZ, logs my notes, puts it into Salesforce, puts an email draft for me, gives me feedback on, hey, my churn risk or whatever. So this stuff is doable now. And so I think too many people are focused on too many things. Be like Eli and focus on the bottleneck.
On the fat kid. It's the fat kid. The fat kid, he had to put the fat kid in front of the group of five to get up the hill,
well,
right?
His backpack was overweight. If you remember, it wasn't that. He also had too much stuff in his backpack. If I remember, I'm going to reread that book. It was a fictional book about logistics does not sound too sexy, but it really, honestly, it's made me a better leader. It's made me, I think helped to build Skaled as a better consulting firm, because it is a really simple concept that, look, guys, this all comes down, throughput, which is what revenue is a mission. It's throughput, right? We are producing a lead and throughputting it through to customer retention, and growth. And so the concept of like, what is the unlock? What is the Herbie? Right. And every company has one. And then once we do that, great. What's the next one? And the next one? And then, it's actually a pretty simple way to operate, that if you just simplify your AI strategy down to that, you're going to make a much bigger impact, both in the short and the long term, because everyone is focused on doing less of the right things versus a lot of things that may or may not be important.
It's just for context. I'm joking, but it's not about fat kid. It's the example of a group of kids where one of the kids, he was in the group, and it just so happened to be that, wow, if I apply the same concept with my children on this hike in my factory, and if you do the audiobook, it's way cooler, bro. Like, they got music in it now, and it's super cool. So that showed me, like, all right, if you got this, just put something that is like, everything has to be paced. And then that's when you told me about traction. And like I said, I rip companies a new asshole in a good way with traction, because it gives you structure. So one thing I know, Jake, you've seen hundreds of revenue orgs. Huh?
I said we use that at our company too. We're at EOS.
Yeah. Oh, mate. And they've got the new book, Rocket Fuel. So if you want to get the next book and see how that's going, like, there's some shit going on there. But after seeing so many revenue orgs, right, what's the single biggest structural mistake you see over and over?
Ooh. I'll start with there's a few. Again, I should try to get to the bottleneck, but there's probably a few. It's crazy. Data problems in 2026 are crazy to me. It's like, how is this possible? Like, please explain to me how it's possible. We all know the data that we want. We all know what the reports need to look like. Why haven't companies fixed it? I mean, like, for us to come in, like, we've got a pretty like tight diagnostic process and get companies, we've got this like 24-point data checklist. It's like, great, you're at 8. Here's where you go. So the data piece is really interesting to me, that it's still an issue. So because, and I look, it may or may not be the bottleneck for your org necessarily, but it's certainly one that's solvable today, that you shouldn't just accept that data's tough or data doesn't match up. And it's a very solvable problem. So if you need help, let me know as a part of it. I think if I had to say the biggest bottleneck, or if I had to say the biggest issue, is the lack of executive understanding of the power of AI. Gotta edit that shit out. All right, I'll say it again, and then we can go into it. All right. So if I had to say one bottleneck, it would probably be the lack of executive understanding of what's possible with AI. That I think you're seeing a lot of experimentation on the front lines. And the reason companies are not moving faster is their exec team is not downloading Claude code in the terminal and learning how to do this stuff. Because, dude, I am doing the. I am not a software engineer. It didn't take that long to get everything set up. But if you don't learn this stuff and use these tools, you can't comprehend what's possible. And that's why it's so important. Leaders aren't getting hands-on enough with AI and where AI is going. Therefore, they can't imagine what this new go-to-market engine looks like, right?
So I want to jump in on that. I want to jump in on that because if you're a CRO and I'm a CRO of a big company and I'm paying our business is paying a development team to do this stuff, right? As a revenue leader, do you think that revenue leader should be getting their hands dirty, or should they maybe be sitting with the development team and saying, show me how?
No. You have to get your hands dirty. You cannot. I mean, look, if I could shake you, I would. If I could grab you by the shoulders and look you in the eye, I would. This is not optional, guys. This is not. This is the exact same shift, Shane, as when the internet came out. Mm-hmm. Let's go back to like 93 to do another history. Today's a history lesson. Eli Brad, 2014 Outbound. I got some gray hairs, man. But long story short, guys, when the internet came out, I wasn't in the workforce, to be very clear. I'm not that old, right? But you know what happened is somebody had to teach Brenda how to send an email. Someone had to teach, hey, we're not going to send a handwritten note. We're going to send this thing called an email, and you're going to log into this thing, and it does this. And a lot of people are like, wait, what? Like, yeah, that's how you send faxes and stuff. Like, this was a thing. And what happened? You had executives that embraced it and thrived and got ahead, and you had others who aged out or retired. And guys, this is the exact same moment 30 years later. It's identical. This is the biggest shift in human problem-solving history ever. And if you are not treating that way, that this is a complete rewrite of how we all do our jobs, you are missing the point of AI. You're treating AI like a tool. You're treating it like a technology, not a foundational shift in how we solve problems as humans. So you've got a choice. You either choose to learn how to solve problems with AI, you yourself, because if you can't solve problems for yourself, there's no chance that your dev team, the dev team does not know what each functional role needs. The dev team does not know what good process, they don't have your brain. You know, they don't have the institutional. So with all of our clients, look, dev teams are involved, or we are the build team, right? But it's all functional group based. It's like, okay, marketing we're focused on this. SDR, this. Sales, this. Solutions engineers, this. Customer success, this. Account management, this. And building the AI solutions for those individual groups. And if you at the top don't know what's possible, you're just going to continue to hire more people. And then you're going to get fired, right? Whenever the board comes to you or your private equity group and says, Jake, next year you've got to grow 20% and you've got to decrease headcount by 5%, you're going to go, well, that's not how this works. It's like, well, it actually is how it works. This is how it works now. So that is the bottleneck. There you go. I got to my Herbie here.
We're looking at a company right now, right? Company does about 2.5 million in revenue. They do 80% of it is gross. Loads of bloated cost, development bloated cost, and the business is like on such a downward curve. It's probably going to be sold at like 25% of the value of that revenue, which ends up being a bargain. But what the immediate conversation already is, all right, Shane, if you're going to go into that team, what are you cutting? What can you do with AI? I know already. So let me ask you this, right? Because this is the kind of chasm that a lot of these revenue leaders have to cross. If they're not operating with the brain like you, I knew that I was in Claude. I was a GPT user, a power GPT user. Same. I flow back from Perplexity. I knew Claude was the good writing tool until I said I need to look at what OpenClaw is. I built OpenClaw on ChatGPT, ran into roadblocks, switched to Claude. Claude had it up in fucking 4 minutes. 4 minutes.
Yeah, OpenClaw
That's
is
how
my
bad.
next frontier.
Don't even bother. Don't even bother. It's not. You don't even need to worry. It's a mess, dude. It's a fucking mess. It takes forever. It breaks all the time. I've got check out Paperclip. I got 17 agents working in unison. Those motherfuckers break all the time. It's a crazy show, right? So this it's absolutely mad. But how do you encourage a revenue leader then to take that step? How do they know to go into their terminal? Bella, come here. How do they know to go into that terminal and write install Claude code? Because some people don't know that.
And Homebrew, so you can push to Git, and Netlify if you want to start to create web app. There's other things you can do. I watch YouTube videos. I watched YouTube. I mean, the answer to any question. People ask me, well, Jay, there's two types of people in this world, in my opinion. Maybe there's like a hybrid of these two. There's the people that sit around and they say, well, how do I get this information? What do I do? Like, where does this live? Blah, blah, blah. It's like YouTube. The answer to all your problems is YouTube, right? So if you're somebody who is trying to figure things out, YouTube, I think we do a really good job at our website. If you go to skaled.com/insights, like we put out content weekly as well. But if you're somebody who's trying to get up to speed and get this done, I would start with, obviously I think my podcast is good too, but if you want to get tactical, YouTube.
Depends. All right. So last question, Jake. So one thing I have noticed with some of the things that Journey is doing is it's a lot of orchestration, if I'm right. Yeah. It's built around the deal cycle. So where do signals fit into your framework? Because signals for me has helped me identify over 10.1 million, and that's not bullshit. Like we could show it, 10.1 million in pipeline off of companies that have raised Series A, B, C, hiring VPs of growth, whatever the case. So for you, where do signals fit into your framework?
Yeah, so I'll tell you. So the thesis behind what we built at Journey, and V2 is kind of what the work in progress is that look, every person, every role is going to have their own AI co-pilot that knows everything about your deal. It knows what's happening in the deal. It also knows what good looks like, right? And so we built this series of agents that were interactive, right? So it maps to your Salesforce. You can, do your call prep, turn that into your outbound email, turn that into your meeting prep, turn that into your deal strategy, turn that into your account strategy when they're a customer. So you can interact with all these agents to do all that, and kind of pull data inside and out. And signals is really just the ability to pull in third-party data to enrich that and to make it more valuable. And so how we think about that is, there's actually two parts to this, and because I want to talk about memory too, because memory is a really, really important part of this that most companies are not actually capturing the memory they should, because it's all stored locally on each person's chat, and so we can talk about that. But we're then pulling in signals that say, oh, and yeah, they're hiring this role, or whatever the signals are for your business, right? If I have, your chat, like the experience, we call it workspace. The workspace is the account. And I've got the whole history there for you. I've got everything. And so when, I can have signals running in the background that when something happens, boom, it's just right there in your UI as a part of it. So I think you have to start to realize, and then the interesting part is, guys, AI can just get you most of the signals. I know it sounds sexy what a lot of these companies are pitching about this versus this. Guys, we're just doing it with straight, OpenAI or Anthropic I don't really care. And just finding the information for you. I don't need to go pay somebody to do this, right? And that's, the whole Clay conundrum, I think, for a lot of companies. So there's that, but the memories piece is huge, because what's really important is I want to remember all the information that chat surfaced, right? So maybe when I did my deal research, it pulled X, right? Mm-hmm. And but where does that get stored? Nowhere. Right, so your AI copilot doesn't have that history. It doesn't have all the context of all the searches and all the things that have happened. And so you combine the interactive part that the rep's doing, the signals data that's coming in. Now you've got real deal context. Now you've got the ability to really know every single thing about the deal from what that individual rep did already. So I don't need to repeat it again. Hey, can you find me this? Oh yeah, Jake, here it is again. And then I'm not wasting tokens again either. right? So the concept of memory around a deal is not just the call and email interaction, but that is absolutely critical. It's also the contextual search that somebody does, that the interaction points that the reps had. And so that's how we think about the future. The future of kind of where we're taking Journey is you're going to have these packets. You have memory, you have signals, you have your data exhausts. And from that, we can surface that in any UI you want. I can surface that in your Salesforce, in your HubSpot. I can do a custom UI as a part of it. And that's really where we see the future, is that instead of moving from all these like individual AI builds, it's like the North Star is everyone has a co-pilot. That's the North Star.
Yeah, cool.
That is it. And what you're building at RevIntel, I think we're very aligned that that's like the future of this thing.
Yeah. So last question. So I found this memory point that you made very interesting, and it's only come across my X feed the other day. And it came. Are you on X or no?
No, I mean, I get the alerts from.
It's very noisy. It's a very dark place, but it's good. It's very good. So it comes up with Claude Code. If you want to accelerate your journey and use less tokens, I've just had to upgrade to Perplexity Computer Max 200, Claude Code 200, also usage credits. And it says, make an MD file of all your stuff, right? Like, so for Jake, so I have my own MD file. I has his own, Eduardo has his own. And then contextually, it has our company Bible, our roadmap, our product requirements document, and all of our IPO vision, and it loads it. We preload it before any chat takes place. We preload it so that the context ends up using way less tokens and you get to your outcomes much faster. Yep. And that's kind of how I saw it happening outside the deal, but for contextually when you're actually going into your first session. My advice, if I was to say for those founders or revenue leaders that don't know how to use AI, the best line I've figured this week was spin up 10 agents, spin up 20 agents, and it uses the same amount of credits as one. I had no idea. You can get so much more work done. So if you were to wrap up the episode, Jake, give me one thing a revenue leader listening right now should implement this week. Let's say two scenarios: non-Claude AI user and a Claude user. So you got two kind of, hopefully the first one's quite self-explanatory.
The first I'll just tell you what I think is low-hanging fruit, right?
Okay.
It is the productivity gains. And I know the tough part about productivity is I think a lot of people struggle to directly attribute that to ROI, even though obviously people are doing less manual things. It would be, and again, because this is what we do with clients, I'll tell you exactly what we do. We sit down with the role, I'll just use a sales rep. We have them pull up Salesforce and their tools. Walk us through your day-to-day. Boom, 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 boom. I do this, then I click this, then I do this, then I do that, then I do blah, 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 like all the stuff they do. Then from there, we say, great. What is the first thing that AI could automatically do for them? And actually, I tease this in the beginning. The one that I told you in the beginning is where I would start. They shouldn't be logging data to Salesforce. They shouldn't be writing follow-up emails. You shouldn't be using a third-party tool to score. I mean, if you have Gong or whatever, fine, keep using it. But eliminate that manual work. I mean, again, you don't realize how much this stuff adds up. Like logging notes to Salesforce and automatically following up with every meeting. You're talking about 4 to 5 hours a week per rep. Like that's such a minimum thing. For me, if I was a leader and I was getting a little more deep into where I am, one of the very first things I can just tell you that I built for myself, combination of Claude Code, my email, and we use Chorus for call recording. And so I use Claude Code to create a standing meeting invite at 7 a.m. and it does my meeting prep for me 48 hours in advance. So
question. Are you using this in chat or co-work, or is this something built in Claude Code?
No, this is in the terminal. I'm in the terminal in Claude.
Okay, all right.
Claude Code in my terminal.
Okay.
You could do it on the desktop version of Claude too. You could just switch to Code, and you can build it there too. And then what it also does, Shane, is for any meeting that's colored teal, that's a sales meeting. It puts a separate invite 15 minutes before that just has the meeting prep for that meeting. So I've got my meeting prep for my entire day every morning. And then for every sales meeting, I've got all the context, and it's pulling in all my emails. So it gives me the chronological history, everything that's happened, all my calls. And so boom, I am up to speed on what's happening in, 2 minutes. And so that was a big bottleneck for me. It's like, oh crap, why did I book this meeting? Who am I meeting with? What do they do? What's their company do? It pulls in company research, it pulls in activity history, it pulls in talking points, it pulls in, if it hears some RevOps guy in the meeting getting all feisty, in my next call, it'll be in there like, hey, you need to go deal with Pat. Like Pat is a problem. So guys, and I built that. I'm not bullshitting you. Connecting the APIs, right? I'd never done that before.
Yeah.
But Cloud Coach walked me through it. It probably took me all in all an hour and a half.
And a lot of this,
that's
right?
I had tools in as a part. So that would be the next thing that I would. And now I've built, listen to what it does now, Shane. Now what it also does is it automatically takes all every call transcripts and turns it into LinkedIn posts and pushes them straight to Notion for my team.
Oh, I'm stealing that, dude. I'm stealing that
Dude,
today.
it is gangster because it knows how I write. And then here, just to be very clear, I then go in and edit this shit. Like, again, going back to the whole theme, I am the F1 driver.
Yeah.
It is doing the things. I'm still driving this thing, right? I'm telling it what good meeting prep looks like. I'm telling it what LinkedIn looks like. I'm then tweaking things. In the meeting prep, I don't, it said to say this, I do this. No, I use it for context. So those would be my two for you, right? Automate the BS that your team's doing that is adding no value in their day-to-day, and automate your prep, and now your LinkedIn, getting LinkedIn ideas flowing. Dude, Shane, it's done.
That's my biggest bottleneck. That is my biggest bottleneck right now, and I think then we'll have to wrap it up. My biggest bottleneck right now is content. There's so much access to content. There's so much abundance of it. I've scrapped the Notion content calendar about 3 times and had to I've lost my business.
My first push was just to Google Docs. At first I just pushed it to Google Docs. You can just push it to Google Docs. I don't really care. You can push it wherever you want.
No, but I'm just saying, like, it's just, there's such an abundance of resource right now, but getting it right, like you said, getting it right and having that human operator is probably the most critical element of this all. So, Jake, what are you going to wrap it up with? I think we're going to have part 2, but what are you going to wrap it up with? It's April 2nd. It's Q2. What should companies, the types of companies we serve, what should they achieve this quarter? And if they don't achieve it, they should be calling us.
Get your roadmap. Just sit down with each role. Guys, you can do this in a day, in an hour or 2 with each department. What are they actually doing? Map the things they're doing, and then build your AI roadmap around that.
That is very simple.
Just do that. That is very actionable. It's very tactical. Anybody can do it. And then if you don't have the time or bandwidth, hire us.
All right. That's a wrap, guys. That's the pod. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this episode and staying here the whole way through. If you like what you saw, click subscribe. It'll take you 2 seconds. It helps me reach amazing guests and deliver valuable content for you. And if you ever want to find out what we do as a business, go to www.gorevintel.com. And that is the place where we help you make decisions that are backed by intelligence, and it's for founder CEOs. That's it for me for now. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.